Hi friends, this is my interview with Ander, also known as Ander on the Road on Instagram, and they're a full-time van lifer and digital nomad. In this interview, we talk about challenges with making money on the road, fears with doing solo ventures, the importance of doing it scared, and more. I hope you guys get some good value out of this interview. Enjoy. What inspired you to start van life, and what was your life like before starting van life?
Um, let's see. I used to watch van lifers on YouTube all the time. Um, and I was going to college online and I was working in catering, which was like really good overtime pay. Like I was making a lot of money. But I got my degree in business administration. And after I was done with it, I was like, why did I get this degree? It was like really like I felt really accomplished, but at the same time I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm just doing things because people are supposed to do." Um and then I was in an apartment and I was like, "Wait, I can do whatever I want. I could do what these people are doing on YouTube, you know?" And then I just started like looking at it from like, like, oh, this is something I can do, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I had a similar realization where like I also grew up watching a bunch of van lifers on YouTube. Like I think I was he's
Mhm.
kind of he was more of an underrated van life YouTuber, but his channel was called Combi Life and he traveled all
Oh,
over.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so he was like the first one I started watching like way back in I want to say like 2015.
Hmm.
And that was like that planted the seed for me. And nowadays you have so many people that do van life that are just like
Hmm.
have like the sketchiest builds, just literally taping things together to all the way to like super
Yeah.
luxurious builds. And it's crazy how much van life has evolved. So yeah, I definitely feel you there on the whole like starting watching van life stuff when you're young. And then yeah, I realized too, like, yeah, I can just do this van life thing, like if I get a van
Hmm.
and it's decent, not falling apart, I can build it out and it's not like the end of the world. It's doable.
Yeah.
So, something that people ask me a lot is like is how is if I was scared to do van life and if I was scared about money and all this stuff. So one of my questions that I ask, all the people that I'm doing for this interview series is, did you have
Mhm.
any fears or challenges about earning money remotely when you first started, or did you kind of already have a plan before doing van life?
I had a plan, but it wasn't one that I really liked. Um, I specifically started looking at remote jobs, and it was around COVID, so like that's when a lot of people were going remote anyway. And I got a call center job, and you can do call center jobs in a van, but it's like a lot of equipment and like sometimes they can see your location and the rules that you can't travel. So I had a call center job and it really sucked, but it was really helpful like to get into things. And then I was able to freelance for most of my income.
Okay, cool. So that was my next question. Is that the type of remote work that you're
Mhm.
doing now, just like mainly freelance work?
So I still have a call center job like on the side that I do like twice a week. But most of my income is freelance. So I work for a startup called Storyforge.
Yeah,
They're
I,
like a
I I think I remember
like
you reaching out to me about that.
platform. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that was and still is an amazing opportunity for me because I was still really brand new in copywriting, and content writing, like blogs and stuff. So getting that job really shifted things. And then on top of that, I've done like a lot of like odd jobs, like apps and stuff.
Oh, okay, cool. So like by the apps, do you mean like DoorDash and like Uber Eats or like the survey apps or stuff like that?
I used to do DoorDash, and when I transitioned to the van, I was like, I don't want to put that many miles on the van.
Yeah.
I haven't done that since moving in. I actually for like over a year, I was doing tarot reading, like tarot cards,
Oh, cool.
on called Purple Ocean.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I kind of have the same concern
Mhm.
with apps like delivery apps for making money because
Mhm.
my van, like I don't want to put a bunch of miles on it as well because it already
Yeah,
has 150,000. So yeah,
yeah.
I totally feel you there. And I'm kind of trying to brainstorm like, okay, well, if I'm not doing a delivery based gig job, then what are like other
Hmm.
kinds of jobs that I can do? And yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that call centers can be good. And like even like pet sitting stuff and house sitting,
Hmm.
pretty good too.
Yeah. There's
So
also like TaskRabbit, which is like DoorDash, but for like odd jobs. Like someone needs you to put together like an IKEA desk, you can come over and do that for them. My partner is on the TaskRabbit
mhm.
app.
How do you how do you balance your work life with your with your travel? And do you like have certain do you have a set schedule where you're like, okay, this is when I'm working and this is when I'm traveling, or how do you work that out?
So right, I have that great of a balance. I'm working like more than I'd like to, um, because like with StoryForge, I'm doing like 24 hours a week, and that would be perfect. Just that, because then I'd have plenty of time to travel, throughout the week. But together with my other job, I'm doing more like 40, which well,
Oh,
for normal people. Yeah, eventually I'd like to get to lower hours, working like just Forge or like that and like little flexible jobs.
mm-hmm.
Because my call center like hours, like you have to be on the phone at a certain time, and I want flexibility. I want to be able to get on work whenever I feel like it.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Yeah, that's something that I'm trying to figure out as well. Because like I think that for me personally, like something that feels kind of like a dream work setup is just doing
Hmm.
content creation full time and like getting money from like
Yeah.
Google AdSense and like having brand deals or just working
Hmm.
with brands or filming for brands, stuff like that. And just having that be my full-time
Yeah.
income. I obviously like I've only worked with
That's the dream.
one brand before, so I have a long way to go before I'm
Hmm.
there. But I feel like that's definitely the dream. Or just like doing anything where I can put like a digital product online and that product can help people do,
Hmm.
van life or whatever it is they want to do. That's like that's the dream. But definitely
Yeah.
until I get to that point, I'm same shit. Like I'm about to start door dashing again this week because I just need money to continue building out my van.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be doing like freelancing, doing like video work for a local college here and stuff like that. So it's crazy because
Ooh,
one
that's
of the biggest
cool.
questions I get is like, how do you make money or how do you like afford this lifestyle? And it really is just like the same way that you afford your lifestyle. I mean, I work and I save, and
Yep.
able to put it together. It's just
Yeah.
when you're, living in a van full time, you kind of have to think a little bit more outside the box, but it's really like same old shit, just work where you can
Hmm.
work and save money.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like you can really have like exactly the same lifestyle as people that like live in an apartment with a 9 to 5 if you want, like if you find a permanent place to park.
mhm,
Um and then you just have like cheaper living space. But like the traveling aspect involves a lot of uncertainty and like a lot of little things you need without realizing it. Like I had to buy power cords the other day each to our space that we're parked. And those things are $175, which is a lot when you're not prepared for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's something I'm definitely really apprehensive about because I bought this van with
Yeah.
246,000 miles on it, and the seller was like, "It's great. It's
Yeah.
been taken care of so well." And I drove it around before I bought it, and I was like, "Damn, this thing does drive well." And I had it
Hmm.
looked at and everything, but I just like I know down the line, like something's gonna happen, but that's just van life. And I
Yeah.
don't, I feel like I need to knock
Yeah.
on wood saying that, but also like I don't know a single van lifer who hasn't had some sort of like breakdown or something, just break and then had to like dish out a bunch of money because that's just like that's van life. But the way that I see
Yeah.
it is like with any direction that I take in life, there's gonna be like, and this is kind of like a vulgar way of putting it, but like a 10-pound steaming pile of shit no matter what direction you go in. And
Yeah.
like for van life, that's kind of it. Or like you could do like the traditional 9 to 5 route in a job that you don't like, and like you have so many like piles of shit that you have to deal with. So I'd
Yeah.
rather do the thing that I love and deal with the pile of shit doing the thing that I love. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it feels like, okay, well, if
Exactly.
that's, the thing that I'm gonna have to deal with, like repairs and
Hmm.
unpredictable situations, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll take that over just like
Yeah.
minutia of working a job that I don't like. Also, this is Disco, the banana slug. Um,
That's adorable.
yeah, he's my friend. I got him in Big Sur in a little redwood forest. So,
Oh.
yeah. So you talked about having like sometimes connectivity issues on the road with doing your job. Do you use any particular tech or tools to help with that?
I've been using this cell extender because our internet is like a MoFi router, and we use a like an ATT SIM card with like a unlimited phone plan, and that gives us the data to use as Wi-Fi, and it's usually really great. Um, but this area, there's a lot of hills, and I think the only tower that we're near is right behind a hill. So we got a cell extender. I don't remember the brand, but the thing was like $300. Another
Oh,
thing I
wow.
was not planning on buying. And it is not great, but I would not be talking to you right now if I didn't have it. So that's
Yeah,
been helpful.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I didn't know those existed, like cell extenders. That's pretty cool. I've heard of
Yeah.
like the Wii Boost and then of course like
I
Starlink
think
and
that's
stuff
the
like that.
brand.
Oh, it's Wii Boost. Okay, cool. Yeah,
I think
I've
it's
heard good
by
things about that.
Weeboost.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that I'll probably look into getting. Because Starlink just looks
Hmm.
really, really expensive. And I don't know if I want to like put a
Starlink is
giant
so
thing on my
expensive.
van. Yeah, because it's like not only do
Yeah.
you have to pay for the hardware, but you have to like pay a like monthly subscription to like keep it going. Like that is, I don't
Yeah.
know. And I don't know if I'd be that off grid that often. And I kind of
Hmm.
feel like if I'm that off grid, maybe it'd be better to be kind of, uh not having internet access. Like sure having something
Yeah.
like Garmin InReach or some sort of like sat phone. So if I had was in an SOS situation, I could
Hmm.
authorities, but like I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like if I'm
Need
off
one of
grid, I
those.
want to be like off grid. But I
Yeah.
definitely get it for digital nomads that need to be able to work wherever they go. So
Hmm.
I might get Starlink down the line at some point, but it won't be like an enthusiastic purchase.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so this is like the question I'm most excited to ask, but do you have
Hmm.
uh do you have any advice for people actually yeah. Do you like what advice would you give to someone who wants to start van life but is worried about everything like
Hmm.
finances or just what people will think or people are going to call me a bum or homeless or da 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 like do you have any advice for people like that who really want to do it and just kind of are stuck in the like paralysis of just doing a big different thing?
I think the biggest bit of advice is change, even when it's good change, is going to make you want to throw up. um, but like more like, I guess, like technical, like just think of your priorities. Because van life, you can do it so many different ways. So it really just depends on what your priorities are. Like me, I need internet because that's the kind of jobs that I've put myself in. But you could totally just like drive around and do local hands-on work and have one of those like showers that works with a water bottle, and you don't even need power if you don't want to have to pay for it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think that kind of goes in line with something that I've learned, which is just to like think about the rig that you have, and if you have like a car, start with that
Mm-hmm.
and try like putting the seats down or making some modifications to your car so that you can sleep in it and just go on like a weekend trip and try that and see how you feel.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
didn't really get into van life until I did that. Because I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, I'd wanted to do it since I was a little kiddo, but I always thought,
Mm-hmm.
after seeing like the luxurious van builds and falling down, Pinterest rabbit holes, I thought that I had to have this beautiful, like
Mm-hmm.
$50,000 van that was all built out and perfect before I started. And that's so not the truth. And
Yeah.
I realized when I was traveling over the summer in my Kia Soul out into the West, I realized like, okay, I don't even need any of these things. Because the whole point is just
Yeah.
getting out and experiencing these places. Like the van, of course, is a huge part of it,
Mm-hmm.
but the van, but like it, it's really about just getting out and just being free and seeing places and having fun. So that's something
Mm-hmm.
that I really had to realize. I had to kind of like reframe my mind around that. And I also kind of had to go over the whole thought process where I thought like, okay, well, I don't want to do this unless I'm doing it with other people. And I had to realize that
Mm-hmm.
if I wait for other people to be ready to do anything, then I'm never going to do anything. And I just kind of had to like go alone and do it scared. And I'm so glad that I did because like I feel like once you do it, like once you do something by yourself when you don't feel ready and you just kind of get over that and do it anyways, like it makes everything
Mm-hmm.
so much easier after that because you know that you can do
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. My the first van that me and my partner got was a Chevy Astro, and it was super sketchy, and it had problem after problem, and we put so much money into getting it road ready,
Yeah.
and every time we thought we were ready, something else would go wrong. And then we got a second dog, and we need to upgrade to something bigger.
Yeah.
And every time we were like, oh, we don't have enough money yet. We don't want to get stranded. And like, I still do not want to get stranded somewhere with no money. But
Understandable.
it got to a point where it was like, things aren't perfect, but if we don't do it now, we're going to be another 2 years into this and still not even on the road. So at
Right.
some point, you just got to go for it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a lot more helpful. I don't know. Some people might not agree with the ethics of this, but sometimes it is kind of helpful when there is a kind of a crisis that like pushes you to do
Uh-huh.
the thing, or at least for like
Yeah.
for me, I have really strong ADHD, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes for me to do something that I'm kind of apprehensive about doing or I just don't want to do, it literally takes like some external spark to get me to do
Yeah.
the thing. And then it's like, oh wait, this is fine. This is totally fine. I can do this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's similar for van life or just for getting out there and traveling and just doing things scared. It's like once you get out
Mm-hmm.
there, you learn and the answers come to you when you're out there,
Yeah.
or at least I've noticed this because before getting out and traveling I was like, well, how am I going to do this and that, and then when I went out I still didn't know, but I don't know, it was like I could figure it out and it
Yeah.
wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be. So I don't know, maybe that's
Yeah.
just
You get
an
really good
experience
at
that you
figuring
learn.
things out in the moment.
Exactly, and I
Yeah.
I feel like I wasn't giving myself enough credit for my problem solving skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people don't give themselves enough credit for their ability to like improvise and solve problems when something
Mm-hmm.
needs to be solved, as opposed to like freaking out and melting down. Like or at least I've seen it. It's even if you don't exactly know the answer, there are so many different things that can be done, and I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like The answers will come to you when you just
Yeah.
kind of put yourself out there. Um,
Hmm.
so looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently before starting van life? Like if you could go back and change something, or is there anything you'd change?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done differently because if I had done anything differently, it wouldn't be like it is now, and now it's pretty good, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's a nice way of looking at it. The one of
Yeah.
the other people that I interviewed about van life, it was actually it was Tara and her partner Teo, but she basically
Hmm.
told me that like because I asked the same question, I was like, is there anything that you would have changed? And they were kind of just like, oh, not really, because they feel like the mistakes that they learned along the way just help them become just better people. And even if those were like negative experiences at
Hmm.
it like allowed them to learn something new. This is also a friend I have. Um,
Yeah.
but I so that I think that's a really good way of looking at it too. It's just like, things are gonna happen, but you're gonna survive and
Yep.
you're gonna learn something new, which is really,
Hmm.
really cool about van life. There are
Yeah.
so many skills that you learn with this kind of lifestyle, and I think that's why I'm so attracted to it. Because I have always been
Yeah.
very, very into learning like really tactile skills ever since I was a kid. And it just very much so
Hmm.
feels like if something breaks, okay, I can learn how to fix that with my hands, as opposed to kind of
Yeah.
the like invisible, nebulous problems of society, if that makes sense, or
Yeah.
9 to 5 work where there's like, okay,
Hmm.
because I did a software engineering internship over the summer, and I remember my boss and other developers in the team that I was working with constantly being stressed out about um, making quotas and making sure that production was, making it wigged me out that all of these issues felt so like invisible and untouchable in a way.
Yeah.
And
I get that.
yeah, and it really bothered me. Which is ultimately why I
Hmm.
was like, okay, I cannot do this. I can't do it full time. I'm gonna lose my
Yeah.
life. But yeah, I think that van life really, especially for people like me, or like for people who have ADHD and like really thrive off of just being able to problem solve problems that are right in front of them.
Mhm.
It's really gratifying.
I feel like a lot of what like makes me feel more like comfortable in myself and like acclimated has a lot to do with the ability to do like freelance work and like flexible stuff.
Yeah.
Um, like even like woofing because we're me and my partner are always trying to stay on farms. So it's a lot of like animal care and stuff. But like having the flexibility and having jobs that aren't micromanaged, like down to
Yeah.
the second, which is call center jobs, um, like I feel so much more like I can breathe. Um, but don't feel like I would be, stable doing freelance like in an apartment. Like just be like, oh my gosh, look at all these bills, you know?
Sure.
So being in a van, I'm like, I have like all the basics I need and I can pay for them. And, it's like my little cozy cave. And yeah, it feels a lot more stable.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool that you brought up it feeling like a cozy cave because that's exactly how
Hmm.
my van feels to me. And even
Yeah.
since I was a little kid, I've always loved like, and it drove my parents crazy, but I would always make forts and I would like live in those forts and
Uh,
sleep in them. My mom would be like, "Can you have to like you have a whole bed, like you can just sleep in
hmm.
your bed?" And I'd be like, "No, I made this and I want to sleep in it and I love it." And I was really like gung ho about it. But it feels the same way about being in this band because ever since I've been doing the new series where I'm like, this is a ba-da-da about moving into my unfinished band, a
Hmm.
bunch of people have been like, well, why would you do that when you have a whole apartment right there? And it's
Yeah.
it's literally the same thing. Like, I made this
Yeah.
happen and damn it, I'm gonna sleep in it and live in it, and I love it because it's mine and it's my
Yeah.
kid, and it feels exactly
I
like.
used to, I used to do the same thing actually. I had a bunk bed. I just remembered this the other day actually. I was like going to sleep and um, our bed is cut funny because of the bed frame in our old and it was like a handmade futon basically, and we had to cut the mattress to shape. But there's this funny little divot that like works as a cup holder now.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh my goodness, I used to have a bunk bed and I would put this little basket on the railing and
Mhm.
I'd have everything I could possibly need in my bunk bed. And I was just made like a bigger bunk bed fort now.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It like it scratches the exact same itch, and it's so satisfying. So yeah, I think that's really cool, and I'm glad that
Yeah.
you share that same sentiment of like, hey, I built this thing, it's mine, I'm
Yeah.
happy. I don't need, all the space and the luxury of a
Yep.
big apartment or whatever. Because to me, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like I've rented apartments. I mean, I've lived in houses, I've rented houses. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just like personally, I never really cared so much about all the space, and in fact, it kind of just like
Mm-hmm.
stressed me out more than anything. Um, but as opposed to like living in something
Yeah.
like this where I feels like, yep, this is mine, I own it. Like it's I don't know, it just feels a lot more controlled,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
Yeah. I've
yeah,
always preferred tiny apartments too.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think they're the way. Like tiny homes. Before for a while, I was like, okay, well, maybe I just want a tiny home that I can just like tow with me
Mm-hmm.
when I go, da 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 da. And of course, then I settled back down with it. But yeah, I think for me,
Mm-hmm.
tiny has just always felt, I don't know, better. And because
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like less is more in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And by owning less and just possessing less and just having less just general like noise around you allows you to just really extract more out of life and more experiences and more
Yeah.
learning and growth. And I think that's something I wish more people could really experience.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that like this lifestyle is just so far from what I've experienced, it can, in my summer traveling around in IKEA and
Mm-hmm.
now building out my van and sleeping in here in my university parking lot, it just feels correct. But to each their own. Do you see yourself living, doing van life long term, or do you have plans to transition into something else? Is that something you'd ever want to do?
So the end goal is to have like a little bit of land. Um, Not like anything crazy. Like when I figured out how much an acre was, I was like, I can't believe people have 40 acres of land. That's like the whole world.
Yeah,
Um, I'm fine with like, eventually having like a little 5 acre thing. Um, but I'd eventually like to build like a little commune.
nice.
And like, yeah, and like just a bunch of little tiny houses, and everyone has their own space, but we all like, use like outdoor kitchen or something like that.
Yeah,
Um, um, but I can definitely see myself living in the van for like 5 years or more leading up to that.
for sure. That's cool. Yeah, I like the idea of I definitely like the idea of buying land and kind of just like settling there. I think it really just gets back to the heart of humanity and like the reason that we've survived so long as a species is because we've helped each other. And I think that communes are just a really, really cool way that humans continue to do that.
I like window shopping on ic.org. It's a directory, and like even before I really considered van life, I would like look at different states and I'd be like, let's see, what's over in like Virginia. I don't know. And I just read all about these different communities and, consider, going and traveling to one. And now I can do that a lot easier.
Yeah. Definitely. That's cool. That's really cool.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to try that at some point.
Oh, another resource I wanted to share is the Permies program from Wheaton Labs. It's like like Girl Scouts or Boy Scout, but it's for adults, and it's like farming practices and like homesteading things, and so it's all forum based, and you go through the different tasks and like show proof that you've learned how to do it, and you earn badges. And the program works with people who have land and they don't have people to like pass it on to.
Mhm.
And so you earning the badges shows that you have the ability to care for the land, and you can either buy it at a discount or inherit it from them when they're ready to give it away.
That's
So
super
we're going to
cool.
utilize that.
Ander, thank you so much for meeting with me today and letting me pick
Yeah.
your brain. I really appreciate it. All right, friends, that was the interview. If you made it this far, you're amazing. Thanks for watching. And if you're interested in van life or car camping and you don't know where to start, I've created a 70-page guide that explains everything you need to know to get started. So if you're interested in that, I put the link in my description. See you soon.